Good morning and welcome to the Red Ned Show, where it's always morning, even in the afternoon. I'm your host, Jay Edgar, and I am joined by a returning friend of the show and the first guest that we had, Harvey MacLeod. Harvey, welcome back to, well, it's not really Ed's World anymore, but welcome on back.
Thank you. I'm glad to be back.
Elaine is on vacation with the kid, which I told her last week that I streamed while I was down in Florida, but I know that she's got the kid with her, so we made some accommodations and we found a friend of the show to come in and help us out and read the news, because even with vacations, the news stops for nobody, and we definitely have plenty to talk about and what could be your favorite couple hours of listening material. How was your week? Did you get to see the alignment?
No, I didn't, but maybe I might run up and see it, try and get a glimpse at it, and then come back. But the week was okay.
I don't know what your living situation is. I assume you're apartment living at this point, just because of the temporary nature of where you moved to. But I mean, do you have windows that you could see that, or?
I have a porch upstairs that's on the roof.
Oh, so that's
unobstructed view of the sky.
It is cloudy and raining and drizzly here, so even if I was able to see it, I would not be able to go out there. But we have got a bunch of stuff to get to this week. It has been an absolutely nuts week this week. The government is on the cusp of a shutdown here in just a couple hours, actually. So we will talk about what's going on with that and what that could mean coming up here and what this means for our stimulus bills, because that seems to be directly involved with that. The Electoral College sealed the deal for Joe Biden, or so we thought. So we'll talk a bit about what's going on there and what we are seeing for some of the other challenges that are coming out of this. Bill Barr has resigned from the judicial branch. So we'll talk a bit about what happened there, what that means, and what that means going forward. The cabinet picks are starting to roll in, including some weird names, especially given the fact that all we're talking about is how we wanted to get rich people out of the government. Well, it looks like we might have some rich people coming back into the government, so we'll talk a bit about that. The vaccine is here. You can go and get it at this point, but there seem to be some issues, including a bizarre video of a nurse who fainted on screen, which we'll watch that and we'll talk a bit about that.
I remember hearing about that too.
Speaking of former presidential candidates, Andrew Yang got himself into some trouble this week talking about the barcodes, and Austin Peterson let him have it, as rightly he should. And Tulsi Gabbard made some interesting moves this week, including siding with Thomas Massie over a possible repeal of the Patriot Act. So we will talk a bit about that and more. It's going to be all of this and more over on the Red Ned Show. Thanks for checking us out live over on DLive, YouTube, Twitch, Periscope, and Facebook. And if you're over on Facebook, head on into one of the links that is in the handy description so you can get in the live chat. We would love to answer your questions and see what it is that you have to say. We will take questions in between topics. And if you can't catch us live, you can catch us back on demand over on YouTube and over on BitChute.com. You can go check us out over there. You can check our replays over on the Freedom Scoop Media Group, where you can find such great shows as The Generational Gap and their newest show, Filling the Gap, which will be on probably about the same time we are, but this is not our normal runtime, so I'm not going to ask them to move their runtime for us. So go over there, check that out. They're going to be watching some funny videos, and I'll probably be hanging out with them just a little bit later in the live chat. You can also find the Daily Ignoramus, the R-Rated Conservative, the Freckles and Brit Show, and the Breakdown with Birkenhoff. Come on over, pick up some of our swag, help us support great creators, and help us outgrow the Daily Wire. That is my dream, is to take over where the Daily Wire is. So,
oh boy.
For those of us in the audience that are not familiar with it, I'm familiar with you. You have, what were you on Ed's World, like 4 times?
I think so. Yeah. 4 or 5 times.
So a lot of the audience is familiar with you, but for those of us in the audience that are not, go ahead and tell us just a little bit about yourself.
Ah, well, sorry, fixing my camera here.
Well, you're crooked.
Yeah, I know, this darn Microsoft camera. Anyway, so yeah, my name is Harvey MacLeod. I am primarily a gaming streamer, variety streamer. I do just about anything. I do classic Nintendo, I do survival horror, I do RPG, I do adventure, open world, what have you. The only thing I haven't done is MMOs. Won't touch them. lost too many relationships to them. But other than that, I work in immigration law, and I've lived in various places on the West Coast. And but I'm a Texan, born and raised, and hoping to move back there this January.
Oh, that'll be interesting. I didn't know you were going there. I knew you had been talking about it, but I didn't know you were going there that soon.
I mean, it's now or never, because this state is just, it's going to hell real fast, and I don't want to be here for the fallout.
And we will be talking a bit about how that state is going to hell really fast too. I've got a couple things on the itinerary for that. And now you do a little bit of news stuff too, not very often from what I understand, but I know that you worked with a friend of the show, Silent Caster, every once in a while, and you did another project before you and I met as well.
Yes, I did a brief conservative podcast with my friend Sean. We did a few episodes of that, and he decided he didn't want to do it anymore because it was making him too stressed out. And me and Silent Caster have also done a couple of podcasts. He wants to do another one soon too. So we'll see how that one goes. But yeah, we just talk about interesting topics in politics from a conservative or moderate standpoint. And yeah, I hope he comes by to say hello. Oh, there he is. There he is.
Speak of the devil, there he is. And I mean, it'll be an interesting difference in conversation with it, because you are considerably more to the right than the woman who normally sits on that side of the screen. I can definitely say that.
Yes.
But we get along, and we all have some of the same goals here. Got a couple of items of interest and to clean up from some stories we've talked about in the past. Starting here, Fox News reports a Pennsylvania sheriff leaves Dems, switches to GOP due to party's socialist agenda. So, sheriff in Pennsylvania told Fox and Friends on Monday that he changed his political affiliation to Republican because of the shift in ideals of the Democratic Party at the national level, including a socialist agenda. Fayette County Sheriff James Custer said he switched to the Republican Party after considering the move for several months. He noted that the coronavirus pandemic and related restrictions helped influence his decision. So that's two now major prominent politicians that have done that over on the East Coast, because what was it, Jeff Van Drew over in New Jersey did the same thing.
That's right. I don't know if it really means anything, though. What does it even mean to be a Republican anymore?
Well, I mean, that kind of goes down onto the black pill that I'm starting to see, where, I mean, your neo-libs and your neocons are basically the same thing with a different letter after their name.
Exactly, and I think that's kind of the route I'm going down too, because the Republicans, they didn't step up to bat for Trump when he needed them the most, and that doesn't look good on the people that want, the constituents that wanted to stand by him.
Yeah, and
I mean, I kind of feel the same way about like Andrew Yang and Tulsi. Like their own party didn't even give them a fair shake because they were more in favor of the more, what's the term, optics friendly people.
Yeah, and I mean, on that too, you look at some of these things that go with that. I mean, Yang really showed his colors, though, as far as going on with the socialist agenda, and it was just a little bit scary. Definitely something that was weird to see. Moving on here, the Andrew Cuomo saga continues this week, because Andrew Cuomo says former aide has the right to make sexual harassment allegations. It's just not true. Reporting from The Hill, Andrew Cuomo denied an accusation of sexual harassment from a former aide and candidate for Manhattan Borough President on Monday at a press conference detailing the state's COVID-19 prevention efforts. The governor was questioned by a reporter on a now viral Twitter thread from Lindsey Boylan, a former special advisor to the governor and economics official with the New York State government. And as we remember, going back to last week, Boylan has accused Andrew Cuomo of sexual harassment, but she is not willing to sit down with a reporter about it or go to the police with it. So have you been following this story at all?
No, but that seems pretty sketchy to me. Why aren't you going to the police with it then?
Well, I know Elaine was talking a bit when we talked about that initially over the fact that sometimes women, especially in politics, feel like this could ruin their lives if they were to come forward with something like this. And I do understand and respect that. And I mean, regardless, if you're going to make the accusation, your accused does have the right to confront his accuser.
Yeah,
So,
that's true. But I mean, what really can Cuomo do? If I were in his position, at least if I was a prominent public figure and somebody accused me of that, I mean, I would say, well, that's not true, And then what can you really do? Like, are you going to bring me up on charges? We'll go to court and we'll have a hearing about this. Other than what do you want me to do? I'm just saying, like, I don't know if it's true or not, but like, how are we going to determine that and what's going to come of it? It's just a girl or it's just a person alleging something. But if you're not going to go through the legal avenues to try and bring him to justice, what can be done?
And I mean, that's completely fair on that too. And we do need to move ourselves, even whether it's a Democrat politician or a Republican politician, we do need to move ourselves into a position where we're not trying people in the court of public opinion and social media anymore and actually running them through the court. But there again, if this could bring challenges to her political aspirations, I could see why she might avoid that as well. I'm torn.
So then why did she come out with it at all then?
Publicity, probably.
Yeah, okay. See, I'm not going to question motives or anything, but, there's only so many avenues one can go if they're not going to go the legal avenue. And now it just seems she wants to, I don't know what she wants to do, but she obviously had something to say and she said it. And that's it. And she doesn't want to talk to any more about it.
Well, we will continue to follow the story, but I mean, Cuomo's right. She does have the right to bring it forward. Well, bring it forward. The Raz may be no more. Reporting from the New York Post, Portland's Red House Autonomous Zone dismantled after mayor apologizes. So this is that house up in Portland that the people were getting evicted from, and then the good people of Antifa Portland, in all of their glory, decided that they were going to fence it off, block it off, and set booby traps for it. So,
and did somebody else buy it and then decide to sell it back?
Well, yeah, that was the update that we had last week for it. Was that so what had happened was the original owners took out a loan against the house to help one of their kids get through the court system, couldn't pay it back. So then an investor came back and bought it up and then let them stay living there. But then when COVID hit and nobody was going to work, then they couldn't pay the rent anymore. They went through the eviction process, got evicted. And now Portland Antifa decided that they wanted to make it another autonomous zone. Well, Ted Wheeler has apologized, brokered a deal with the protesters, and yes, the owner decided he was going to sell it back to the original owners at cost. So now with the apology, this is all no more.
All right, yay. I mean, I feel like that based on what you're telling me, what he did was not wrong if he can't pay rent to get evicted. But then again, your own government is telling you you're not allowed to work and go make money. So that's an interesting situation. I wish if the people were going to organize that way, they should go against all these BS lockdowns, to be honest.
They should. They absolutely should. Have you been following the Eric Swalwell story? This guy right here. Oh, wait, that's not him. That's Mike Myers, but that's still the spy who betrayed me. So, as Eric Swalwell goes deeper and deeper into the story of what happened with him and Fang Fang Bang Bang, now the government is walking up and saying, okay, well, we might need to address this. Reading from CNN, if it loads, there it goes. House GOP leaders ask Pelosi to remove Swalwell from Intelligence Committee. House Republicans sent a letter Tuesday to Speaker Nancy Pelosi asking that Democratic Representative Eric Swalwell of California be removed from the House Intelligence Committee following a report that he had been targeted by a suspected Chinese intelligence operative as a part of a broader effort to establish ties with U.S. politicians. And, of course, we all know what the story was, is he wound up in bed with somebody who wound up being a Chinese spy, allegedly in bed. He's denied that he got in bed with her, but that might actually be worse. You get spied on by a Chinese spy and you don't bang her.
You don't get anything from that. No, that's terrible. Yeah, that really needs to be looked into.
Especially with him being on the Intelligence Committee. That's the big one.
Yeah, that's huge.
So it looks like Pelosi doesn't seem interested in taking him off the Intelligence Committee, but I'm pretty sure that should disqualify him from it. I'm
Mm-hmm.
pretty positive that
I
should
think
be.
that's pretty cut and dry. If justice will be served. I mean, there was a lot of ties of Biden to China as well that seemed to be swept under the rug. So,
Hey, come on, man! It's the thing, man. Okay.
oh God, screw that guy. Sorry.
And that, I mean, Swalwell, he is in your neck of the woods. I mean, I believe you and I determined off camera at some point that you're not in the Swalwell district or the Pelosi district, but is that not in the same city, though?
What's the city?
I
You can
believe
say
his
it.
district is in San Francisco.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm not in
because
San Francisco.
I know when Chris Lokes lived in San Francisco, he was in Swalwell's district, based on where the lines were.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm not in his district. I'm in somebody else's.
Yeah. So we will see what happens there. Speaking of California, the California church that is known for having its nativity scene reflect on what's going on the in the news decided to put their nativity scene up as a Black Lives Matter nativity scene, including say their names on it, with masks and signs and I can't breathe and everything else to go along with it. Reading from KCAL 9 out of Los Angeles, Black Lives Matter nativity scene draws attention at Claremont Unified Methodist Church. Like other churches, Claremont Unified Methodist Church set up a holiday nativity scene, but they did it with a twist. Their nativity scene depicted black individuals and paid homage to the Black Lives Matter movement. It's an eye-opener, just makes you think about stuff and gets people talking about what's going on. Now, this same church was actually famous last year for doing the Kids in Cages nativity scene as well. So, I mean, this isn't the first time they've done anything like this. This is on the, from what I understand, the opposite end of the state from you, but have you seen any of this in the local news?
I haven't, but just speaking as a Christian person, like I feel that that's kind of perverting the nativity scene of what it's supposed to represent. It's not supposed to be a political statement. And personally, I don't think it should be a vehicle for any political statement. It should be the nativity scene, which is the birth of Jesus Christ. So I really have no words. I have, nothing against people exercising their civic right to their free speech, but I think they're missing the mark on what the nativity scene is supposed to be.
Indeed, and I mean they're still going to do stuff like this. They want to put the eyes on it, so they'll do whatever it takes.
I would question of the validity of that church.
I would question a lot of things that come out of California, but
Yeah.
going back onto the other side of the country from our regular co-host neck of the woods out of Indiana. From Fox News, Indiana murder suspect, 22, escapes when prisoner transport van stops at McDonald's.
I heard that. I heard about that.
A manhunt was underway this week for an Indiana man charged with murder who authorities say escaped custody after a prisoner transport van stopped at McDonald's, according to multiple reports. And just the logistics of this whole thing blew my mind. Somehow, because he had manacles on his feet, but yet somehow when they stopped, he was able to get out of them and get up out of the window. But I also have to question the fact he was coming from Chicago, being extradited out to Indiana because that was where his murder charge was. But the van actually came out of Green Bay, Wisconsin, which is a good 5 to 6 hours away from where all of this was happening. So I don't understand anything that went along with this except for the fact that as of right now, Taylor is still at large.
Jeez, that's some commitment if he's able to do that bound up. Pretty sure he's free by now, but still. Well, here's to hope we find him, bring him back to justice. Stopped at a McDonald's, really? You couldn't do that after?
Yeah, I couldn't. Well, it looks like I guess the bus company was contracted to get them a meal along the way because of the extensive time of the drive. I don't know what it is, but I mean, isn't there a sack lunch? Can't you do something like that instead of having to stop in the middle of the city?
Like, all right, now I'm going to go get some McDonald's. You better stay right here.
Well, they were in the drive-thru, to be fair, but
All right, I'm
Still.
gonna reach out and get the McDonald's. You better stay right there. You want a milkshake or something? McFlurry? I'm a vanish in a McFlurry.
In what might possibly be the most 2020 headline there is, Tiger King star Joe Exotic sues Justice Department over rejected pardon. This
Okay,
is
now
from
I'm not. Oh, sorry. Go on.
this is from the New York Post. No, I want to hear what you had to say on that one.
I don't really know much about the Joe Exotic other than that he kept animals like in his house, and like he also had sex in exchange for drugs. Like he would give drugs to people in exchange for sex or something. I don't know. It seemed like a bizarre story, and everyone said Joe Dirt should play him. That's all I remember.
Well, I guess he is. I've never watched the show, so I don't know what he's up for. I believe it is murder he's in for, but he was wrongfully accused, is what the story is, but he was still convicted at which point. So he put an application, which I didn't know you could sue if you got your pardon rejected, but I also didn't realize that you could request it. I don't know.
I mean, you can sue for anything, but I don't think he was. It wasn't for murder. It was murder for hire because he had all these animals in his house, and some prominent, wildlife activist or something was actively trying to take him down for years. And I think he tried to put a hit on her to kill her.
See, that's way more about this than I know. I mean, if I want to see rednecks behaving badly, I'll just go back up to my mom and dad's house and work in the bar for a week.
Yeah, or watch the Hatfield McCoys or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't need to watch Tiger King to see something like that.
Yeah.
Um,
That's too funny.
A little bit of an update on the Ahmaud Arbery case popped up this week. New body camera video shows events immediately following the Ahmaud Arbery shooting. This didn't really show a lot of anything, and we still don't have any closure for this. Most of America has forgotten about this one at this point.
I did. I had to look it up. Yeah.
Except for the fact that trolls on 4chan and Discord have got a new racial slur that they can use to get past all the censors. Now it's jogger.
Oh, jeez. And you still got the double G's in there.
Yeah. The footage shows officers speaking to Gregory McMichael and his son Travis, who prosecutors say chased the 25-year-old while he was running and shot him, and William Roddy Bryan, who prosecutors say drove behind the McMichaels and filmed the entire incident. Basically, all we have from the body cam footage at this point is the police interviewing the guy. We still have no answers. We don't know who was in the right, who was in the wrong, or anything else to go along with this. I don't think we're going to get closure from this for a long time. But in full reality, I looked at everything, and I think that the McMichaels were in the wrong in this one, and definitely should be going up.
Yeah, I feel like if that guy was up to something wrong, this was a little bit overkill in what they were trying to do. So yeah, we probably won't get closure for a while, but at least if it brings the two wrongdoers to justice.
Moving on, Lincoln Project founder Steve Schmidt announces that he's now registering as a Democrat. I don't think I need to read any more of this article.
Yeah, same thing. Like, what does it even mean anymore?
Yeah, and I mean, it's the Lincoln Project. We all know what they did, and they were openly ready to back socialists in order to get rid of the Donald. So none of this should be any surprise anymore, except for the fact, and I've said the same thing about Joe Walsh, and not the cool one that wrote "Life's Been Good to Me So Far." The one that was
yeah, I like that song.
The one that was a representative from Illinois and now has a radio show. I've said the same thing. Okay, you guys can go support Democrats and socialists all that you want at this point, but as soon as they're done with you, you guys are all going to be sitting next to the rest of us in the camps where we all learn how to concentrate. So I don't care what it is, how much you try to appease to these people. They're going to throw you away and throw you under the bus just as soon as they have a chance as well.
They will eat their own. It happens very quickly.
A little bit of video game news. Cyberpunk 2077, the big-time new release that everybody's talking about at this point. Well, They managed to beat Bethesda and how badly they can release a broken game to the point that PlayStation Store is offering refunds to their
Oh my
users who have
gosh.
bought this game because it was so broken on the PlayStation side.
Oh my goodness. I heard it was like lukewarm at best, but everybody that I heard playing it was playing it I think on the computer, so not on the PS4, but I did hear that it was like overhyped and lukewarm at best. Lukewarm reception.
Well, I mean, I've heard the same thing about the Outer Worlds, but the potato over here won't handle it, and the newest console I have is a GameCube, so I've not experienced it.
Yeah, I watched somebody stream it. Guys, he when I asked him if he liked it so far, he goes, "Yeah."
To be fair, I heard some of the same stuff about Outer Worlds too. Like that was really, really overhyped, and that kind of fell flat as well.
Well, wasn't Death Stranding like hyped up, the Hideo Kojima game, and super hyped up, and then just nobody talked about it after it came out? Like, what does hype even do for a game anymore?
Gets people to buy it and gets it to take over Twitch for about a month.
Mm-hmm. And then when it's overhyped, you have to issue a lot of refunds.
Speaking of Twitch, this one should be right up your alley here from The Verge. Twitch bans simp. Good luck to moderators.
Simp, virgin, incel. Yeah. I don't know. I don't get virgin.
Well, because people use it as an insult, apparently. But, I
It
mean,
shouldn't be used as an insult, though. Like, that's like saying nerd. Nerd used to be an insult, but now it's not. Like, you're a nerd, you're a nerd. If you're a virgin, you're a virgin. Or what if I'm talking about the drink I have that doesn't have alcohol in it, which is never going to happen? But still, what if? I should be allowed to say that.
well, there should be
Like,
a lot more free speech, but this comes right along with the upcoming revamp of the sexual harassment policy that Twitch put out, which means first they're stopping people from simping on Twitch, which eliminates 75% of their market. I'm sorry. When you've got Amaranth goes on there, shows her snatch right on screen,
Yeah, it
and
gets
then gets
what, a
reinstated.
2-day ban?
Yeah.
Yeah, she got like a 2-day ban or something. Or Linity yeets her cat over her head, and then somebody else who like turns around to get something and accidentally elbowed their cat because they were right there, and they got banned for a few days.
We're running, and I know Steven has been banned from Twitch and YouTube numerous times at this point. But I'm actually running a betting pool as to which I get banned from first. YouTube for saying that the election was totally above board, Susan, honk honk, wink wink. Or for Twitch for somebody being an asshole in my chat. Or me for saying something wrong. I don't know which one's going to come first, but yeah, I'm going to probably be banned off both platforms, and I have a backup channel on both platforms at this point.
Well, that's good. I mean, this is just something that happened in my chat the other day. Somebody had mentioned something, and it was on the subject of what words you can and can't use, and it had to do with the N word. And he said, "Oh, I allow it in my channel, and I would respect them for saying that." And one of my mods banned him because he construed it as it's okay to call people the N word. And I'm like, I don't think that's what he said, but I see why you did that. I see why I don't think you were out of line for doing that. But Twitch, I think, needs to understand what its audience is. If you want to ban those terms, and I think, there is some merit to banning some of the really, really bad words because so many children go on the platform. And you have Ninja on. He came back because I guess Mixer died with a whimper. So Ninja's back. There are going to be a lot of younger kids on that platform. So if that's going to be your platform, okay, and that's fine. But then why are you allowing like softcore porn, borderline softcore porn on there? Twitch seems so wildly inconsistent with what they allow on their website. It's kind of annoying.
Well, and I mean, that's one of the things, too, because they're trying to macro manage something that's much easier micromanaged. I mean, I have mods over on Twitch. If something goes wrong or somebody is going out and being outright an asshole in there, they ban them. I barely free speech on my platform, too. But I also,
I am, too.
I have to wonder with that, too, what happens because we run Restream on all of my shows. What happens if somebody cracks one of the naughty words over on YouTube and the Restream bot puts it into the Twitch chat?
Mm-hmm.
How does that work?
See,
Something we'll have to
I
figure
think
out.
if Twitch supplies the platform, if they want to set those types of rules, fine. Just be consistent with it.
I'm actually surprised I didn't get banned out of somebody's chat the last time I went on Twitch. I've not been doing Twitch gaming for a long time because, I never have time. I'd love to sit down and
Hmm.
watch somebody play video games again, but just, I think 2 weeks ago I went back into, watch Nick's pick play Animal Crossing, and
Hmm.
somebody popped in the chat and said, "What are your pronouns?" And just as a habit, because it's me, I said, "My pronouns are no/you." And then I, and
And what
then
happened?
and then Nick's Pip read it and she said, "No, no, we don't mean pronouns in this chat." Well, you don't know what I do because I mean pronouns a lot. And
What
I showed my
meme?
what's
We don't
that?
what pronouns?
We don't meme pronouns.
Oh, okay. And was this somebody that you knew?
No, it's a girl that what she was playing Fallout 4 when I discovered her, but yeah, it's another Fallout player that I found and was
Who
watching and kind
goes
of
in,
enjoy.
but who goes into a Twitch chat and asks, "What are your pronouns?"
Apparently, this
Like,
dude.
who does that? I think people that get upset over the use. Okay, that's one thing. Like if somebody tells you I prefer to be called this and you call them something else anyway, that's just you being an asshole. But what if you just genuinely didn't know? Like, why do you need to make a big deal? Like, you need to respect the pronouns. I'm like, okay, why don't you tell me which one it is first? I didn't feel like asking because that seemed invasive and rude. But now you're getting mad at me for making a mistake.
Well, and to be fair, after that happened, I actually went into my Twitter profile and added pronouns. They weren't the same ones. My pronouns in my Twitter profile are your/mom.
That's funny.
I can't do no you on that because Freckle Liberty already has those ones.
Oh, that's okay. Your
Uh,
mom. I would
couple
put Darude in Sandstorm. I'm sorry, go on.
congressman. I got a couple back to back here from the New York Post. A congressman cracks a beer open during a House speech. Joe Cunningham got on the floor to go and make a speech. He smuggled a beer into the House chamber to do this. Got on the floor to make a speech because he's on his way out the door to say that all the parties are broken. And at the end of it, he popped a beer.
Why am I not? I would have, if I could have, just to be extra, I would have brought champagne. Fall of America.
Well, this kind of goes back to the stuff. We looked at the House of Representatives back when it was incepted. And the House of Representatives, they used to have fistfights on the floor.
Yeah, that's true. It is a lot more tame now. Now it's like a boring soap opera.
And now AOC gets pissy if somebody calls her a fucking bitch on the steps. Not even on the floor, on the steps. And
Yeah, about that.
and
Okay,
nobody. Go
well,
ahead.
I remember Lainey saying that was unprofessional of the guy to do that. And it was unprofessional, disrespectful. It wasn't any better for her to stand in the chamber and say, this guy called me this. It sounds like you're whining about it. Okay? That is not what a mature person does. Don't go crying and put it on national television, put it on blast. That's not very mature. You've been called worse to your face. I know she has. But now she just wanted to make a grandstand about it.
Well,
Plus, he
yeah,
wasn't wrong.
especially as a bartender from the Bronx.
Yeah, you've been called a lot worse. It doesn't matter what position they're in, okay? You're going to have a thicker skin and not waste Congress's time about saying this guy said something mean to me.
Uh,
But also, didn't her own party vote against her?
Probably. They don't like her very much.
Yeah, it was on Ben Shapiro's show today. They voted 46-13 on something to get rid of her. I don't know.
I have no
I
idea.
don't really know what she's done for her district anyway.
Oh, well, she's really not the representative for New York anymore. What does Ben Shapiro call her? The Honorable Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, D-Twitch.
Yeah, that's right.
She got famous for
She's on
playing
Twitch.
Among Us.
Yeah, I saw a clip of that, but I don't watch people play Among Us, so I'm not watching this.
Last one I have here before we get into the big news today. Cuomo has decided he's back in the news once again. He's signing a bill banning the sale of Confederate flags on state property.
Mm.
So, Governor Andrew Cuomo signed a bill into law aimed at banning the sale of hate symbols such as Confederate flags or the swastika on state property, even while admitting the new edict might clash with the First Amendment and it can be struck down as constitutional. So basically, he got up there and said, "Yeah, you know what? This might be unconstitutional, but I don't care. All right."
Yeah, that's a slippery slope. I don't really know anybody in New York buying either of those things to begin with. So I think he's just trying to flex.
Well, that and the fact that the only place that he's got the authority to do that is like at a state fair or something.
Mm-hmm.
Even if they're selling them in upstate New York, it's not going to be at the goddamn state fair. I'm sorry.
Well, that's going to be, uh, uh, like, I get it. I don't want people buying those flags either, but, you know, when you start infringing on those rights, it's going to keep continuously rolled back. And this seems like something where you're like, oh, okay, well, that's okay. You know, you shouldn't be selling or buying those flags anyway. But that's a dangerous precedent because then they're going to start rolling it back. And people that say, well, no, you just want people to buy racist paraphernalia. I'm like, that's not true. It is a matter of your rights. And people don't realize how good they have it in terms of what rights that are bestowed upon them. And they're willing to roll it back either in the name of safety or in the name of sensitivity. And that's a dangerous precedent. And when you give up those rights, you're not getting them back without blood.
Yeah.
You know, you don't earn rights without shedding some blood.
Defensively, Susan, of course.
But I'm sorry?
I said defensively, Susan, of course.
What does that mean?
Wojcicki has been swinging the ban hammer pretty liberally. So if you're going to talk about violence, it's got to be defensive violence. It's only defensive.
Okay. Gotcha.
All right. Well, that's all that I have for the lightning round. You ready to get into some of this big news for the week?
Sure.
All right. The big news, this is breaking just today. Congress has unveiled a $2.3 trillion government spending package and virus relief package. So this is from what I understand, this is a combined venture that they're doing their omnibus package, which you and I were talking a bit off mic on what that means, but they're doing their spending package because we are 3 hours rather, because it's almost 9 o'clock over in the East Coast land where Washington, D.C. is. We are 3 hours away from the government running out of money and having to shut down. So rather than making a balanced budget, now they've got a 5,600-page spending package that they revealed earlier today, which does include money for a new COVID relief package. And we'll talk a bit about that one on a separate topic here. But 5,600 pages of spending package for everyone to read in 8 hours and decide whether or not that they want to sign.
Was it at least double spaced?
I have no idea.
Single-sided double spaced?
Well, I have looked at some legal text that comes out of Congress, and I do know that a lot of it is double spaced and it's really wide margins. So, but still, 5,600 pages.
Yeah.
And to still not have a passed budget at this point. The National Institutes of Health would receive a $1.25 billion boost, raising the budget to $42.9 billion, while the CDC would get a $125 million boost to $7.9 billion. There are also various aids going out to other countries, various pork-laden pet projects that go along here. It's the standard thing. We saw this in the last omnibus. Now, one of the things that goes along with this is the fact that we look back and we've seen, and this hasn't been very widely reported, except for some people who are very, very into the news, but the government was actually set to run out of money 2 Fridays ago at midnight, was when it was originally set to run out of money from the last massive omnibus spending package that Donald Trump assured us that he was never going to sign, and then he turned around and signed. So that was on Friday. Then they passed a 7-day stopgap so they could continue to bicker over what they were going to do with the stimulus package that was set to be coming out here now that they can pass a stimulus package because we got rid of the orange man.
Yay. Well, at what cost?
They couldn't come to a conclusion as of this past Friday, so they passed a 2-day spending gap to get them to Sunday. And then on Sunday night at the 11th hour, they passed another 1-day stopgap to get us to the point that we're sitting at right now.
Mm-hmm.
I know this is brand new, but have you seen anything on this? Or what's your take on the fact that they're spending money like this in 7 days, 2 days, 1 day, shit like that?
I mean, it's, are we going to just start printing like more money now? I mean, the economy's already in dire straits. This just seems pretty silly.
Yeah.
This is silly. If the government's going to run out of money, it'll just print more, and that's just going to wreck everything further.
Well, and nobody has talked about the debt this year or this president. Well, not really this year. Let me rephrase that. It has been this year because that was when everything really ballooned. We had, your typical $3 trillion added to the debt under President Trump. But then they took $6 trillion more dollars as soon as they passed the
Mm-hmm.
first CARES Act. Six,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where people come out and they keep trying to say, well, that was your money that you got back. That was $1,200 a year. No, it wasn't. Your money was already spent. That was all bought on credit from China.
Yikes.
You know it.
So
I
what
know
is
it.
this next one going to do?
The next one is going to give us another round of aid to states and locals. There was not initially going to be individual checks going out to all Americans in this next one coming up. Let's actually talk a bit about that now that we're moving on to there. Reading just briefly from CNBC. This is from the 16th all the way back here. So this was when it was still in the talking phase. Second stimulus checks could be less than $1,200 per person. Here's what we know. It's looking more likely that direct payments to Americans will be included in the new coronavirus aid Congress aims to pass before lawmakers head home for the holidays. Those stimulus checks could be around $600 to $700 per individual. Senator John Thune of South Dakota told reporters on Wednesday that's just about half of the $1,200 payments authorized by the CARES Act in the spring. So we'll get the payments. They're going to fund state and local governments out of the federal government for whatever reason I can't figure out to save my life.
Mm-hmm.
They were putting more money into the Paycheck Protection Program so people like Joel Osteen can go embezzle back off of it.
Ugh.
And, keep funding medical apparatus. I believe there were some more grants to go for hospitals for COVID testing, COVID tracing, and dealing with COVID deaths.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, for the most part, what's in there. The cost of that particular package came out to $908 billion.
Jeez. Spending money like crazy. You think the Donald's just spending as much money as he can before he has to leave?
Actually, his followers have been urging him to veto this last omnibus and even this new stimulus package
Oh,
because it's so
yeah?
laden with pork on everything. And yeah, like I said,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people have come out and done the math and said that with the money that's in there, they could actually be giving 10 times that amount to every American citizen. I think the everybody that's eligible, which would be about 150 million Americans, could get $6,000 instead of 600. Which that's not the point. Stop spending fucking money, you people.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have the money.
Yeah. I guess that's that. Don't have the money.
And I've been very open about the fact that when I got the first CARES check, I took pictures of it and put it out there and sent it back with a profanity-laced letter back to the Treasury, basically saying,
Oh, there.
"You don't have the money to cover this. Why are you sending me
Mm-hmm.
this?"
Mm-hmm.
I think we're going to get F's in the chat here because it looks like I might have dropped internet for a second. Let me go.
You did for a second. Yeah.
Are we back on?
I think so.
Looks like we are. According to this, we are.
Okay. Only one so far. Not bad.
Throw those F's up in the chat. Anyway, there was some more drama that came along with this. I'm going to outline this last little piece of drama for you, and then I want to get your take on this. So, my senator, Ron Johnson, went up and blocked the checks that were going out that were going to be for $1,200. So, Josh Hawley out of Missouri he worked together with Bernie Sanders, of all people, trying to get the amount of individual checks sent out to the American people up to $1,200 instead of $600. They work together to this. In the Senate, only one person needs to bring something up for consideration, but only one person can shoot it down.
Mm-hmm.
And Ron Johnson did that, which would be fine, except for the fact that he was all in favor of getting all this money out to small businesses, which, knowing Ron Johnson, that means that a lot of his big corporate buddies are going to be getting a whole bunch of money.
Mm-hmm.
What's your take on all of this?
On the stimulus?
The stimulus, the spending package, just all the spending that we see going on here in just 24 hours.
I mean, where's the money coming from? Like, are we in a position, is our economy even in a position to be able to be spending this way? And it all just goes back to, like, why can't people go out and be able to make their own money? Because some people are out of work, a lot of people are like, look, I don't really want this stimulus. I want to be able to go back to work. That's how my husband feels. That's how I'm sure a lot of people feel. I mean, so other people are like, I just want free money, but they're not understanding like what that means for the government, for the cost of where that money comes from. Like, you are going to have to pay that back sooner or later.
Well, and I mean, to go along with that, it's anytime you bring that up, some red rose on Twitter will come back and say, well, it's modern monetary theory. It's just, don't ask it. That doesn't matter. They can just print the money to make the debt. I'm like, no, they can't.
No, they can't. It's got to be backed by something.
Ask Venezuela what happens when you start printing money that's not backed by anything, and you have to take a wheelbarrow full of bolivars to go and buy a loaf of bread.
Or in Germany, after World War I, it was like that too.
So, and yeah, I mean, I know that Rashida Tlaib, back in the beginning, when they first started talking about the CARES Act, said, well, why don't we just print $2 trillion coins, and that'll solve all our problems. Then we'll just we'll mail everybody a debit card, and we'll put $1,000 on it every month. I'm like, no, that's not going to work.
Mm-hmm. No, that's not how any of this works. We should get an economist in here to have them break it down. That'd be kind of fun.
Do I know an economist? No, I don't. I'll have to go find one. I'll have to go meet one somewhere. I'll go down to D.C. and see if I can just put a sign out that says, we'll give food for economist.
All right, plow ahead.
Yeah, so yeah, we're spending money left and right here, and nobody knows what the hell's going on. But yeah, that's what we're seeing. The fact that Josh Hawley,
much of America
Sanders,
it can't make money.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Tax time this coming year it's going to be interesting, especially when people realize that this $1,800 that they're so proud of goes against their tax refund. That's going to be a fun conversation to have in January.
Yeah.
All right. So that's what's going on in the world here. Let's take a quick chat break and just see what these guys are up to over here. Looks like you've been active in the chat. Just to, make sure that these guys know that we're paying attention to them. Ron Helton is in here with Sticker Party. The Breakdown with Birkenhoff, that's Wyatt over on the Freedom Scoop Network, is in here. Sergeant Peterson is saying shut it down, which, yes, go ahead, shut the government down. We need to do that. Silent Caster is in here, as you said. You're talking about our talk show. Silent Caster says, I was going to invite Ed on the show actually soon. Well, give me details here. Just remember I do work until noon Central Time on Saturdays. So we'll work that out. I would absolutely do that. Sergeant Peterson says, Whipped Cream Gate was real. Yang Gang. Yeah, we'll be talking about Andrew here in just a bit. Gang Fang Bang Bang. Haha. Ah, yes, Eric Swalwell. If you meet somebody named Christine Fang that's actually interested in you, don't you have questions?
Interested.
Saint says he's late, but we don't take attendance here, so you're good. Wyatt says his brother won't get probably cyberpunk, unless he's doing some weird freaky shit in chat rooms.
Cyber. That's just gross. It's a dirty term.
Saint says Anthem fooled everybody with the hype, so did Fallout 76. I've heard good and bad things about 76. Mostly bad things.
Mostly bad, yeah. I still think Todd Howard is really hot, though.
Nice. Here, let me get the chat back up, because, of course, that signed me back out when we did this. See if we can catch up with the rest of the chat, which luckily I have my tablet running, and we can go back and check that over there. But I've got to restart the live chat bot here so that everybody's chat comes together. So bear with us on that. Let me see if I can catch everybody else's chat. The thing about hype games is it creates defenders who will never admit the game is trash and never get a refund. I read that one already. Silentcaster says de Blasio said the quiet part out loud today. Nephilim Ninja says his pronouns are he, him, his. I don't know what that means, but that's what we've got going on there. Apparently Rand Paul went off in Congress today about everything. Are we set up for the Great Reset? We talked about the Great Reset on Across the Board a couple weeks ago. Let's see. Free money is the most expensive kind of money. Yes, fact check true. Saint says the government gave me a loan that I used to buy an AR, so I'm okay with it. Well, I sent mine back because fuck them. I don't need to go back into the debt, and I get to complain about the debt at this point because I didn't take their blood money.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we will circle back for the rest here. I'm a little bit glad that when we did get bumped off the air, it was in the middle of a chat break here, so we weren't rolling on a topic somewhere and doing this here. So let's get into the election stuff. Okay. As of Tuesday, right after we went off the air, Electoral College makes it official. Biden won, Trump lost. This is from the Associated Press.
That's a very biased title.
It's the Associated Press.
What do you put in Trump lost? You just say Biden won.
According to the AP, the Electoral College decisively confirmed Joe Biden on Monday as the nation's next president, ratifying his November victory in an authoritative state-by-state repudiation of President Trump's refusal to concede that he lost. So the bias didn't stop at the headline. The electors gave Biden a solid majority of 306 electoral votes to Trump's 232, the same margin that Trump bragged was a landslide when he won the White House 4 years ago. So I'm sure that you've seen the news on this one here. So if you want to talk just a little bit about this and see what you're seeing from that.
I'm thinking that the numbers still don't add up when it comes to Biden. That he got like 8 million more votes than Obama.
Yeah, and I mean, people get mad at you and question that.
Yeah, so something is not adding up. Like not to the confusion that happened on election night. They're like, okay, go home, pollsters. Oh, look, we got all these new votes here. They weren't calling states when it was over like 52% in favor of Trump, and then those flipped. Like all those battleground states flipped to Biden in the middle of the night. Like, you know that if this like was in Trump's favor, like states flipped in the middle of the night, they would say, that's not right, that's not true. And so anybody saying that you should just accept the results, like nobody on the left accepted the results for 4 years. Anybody that voted for Trump's not going to accept it for 4 years.
Well, my friend Clint from over on the Liberty Lock Pod, I mean, he pointed this out right on election night when they started talking about this. When did this become Trust the Government Day? We're not supposed to be trusting the government for anything. We are supposed to be questioning everything. That's the biggest part. That's the magic of living in the U.S. is we have the ability to question everything and not go to prison.
Probably not for long.
Oh, you think it's going to get that bad? Kamala
Well,
Cackle?
YouTube's already banning people for questioning the election, talking about election fraud.
Well, I mean, the election was completely above board. Wink, wink, honk, honk.
Yeah, sure.
But they're making this out as this is definitive too, and there are still states that are being up and challenged. We look at some of these things, and the recounts are going on in Antrim. They're having another signature audit going along.
Bill Barr, the Attorney General of the United States, not waiting.
Go away. Nobody likes you. CNN autoplay. Fuck those guys. Yeah, I think the number is symbolic too. That's the big one because they had to. I mean, if there was everything above board, but just in a theoretical, if there was fuckery going on, it does seem like they had to go out and try to make sure that it was the exact same number or greater than what Trump won by because, that's symbolic, 306 to 232. Now they can come back and say, well, that's how many people rejected you as well.
I don't really buy it. Something is really fishy here.
But it's completely above board. Hong Kong. So that was confirmed at this point, and yet the news goes on with that. We saw this week several Republican legislatures went out and decided to seat another slate of electors just in case. Now, this is actually a long-standing practice going back to the Nixon administration, where in states that were contested or had active cases going, they either had to go without electors to come up for January 6th, or they'd have their own slate of electors get ready to go in case something did get flipped in the Supreme Court. There are still court cases that are going on with this. However, in Michigan, the alternate electors were barred entry to the Capitol by the state police. Reading briefly from the Daily Wire, Republican officials in Michigan and members of an alternate slate of electors intending to cast votes for President Trump were barred entry to the state's Capitol building by Michigan state police troopers on Monday. Videos show about a dozen Republican officials alongside the alternate electors attempting to gain access to the building to reportedly vote for President Trump in the Electoral College vote. Which that's technically not what they were doing. They were just getting there to be ready in case something goes and flips in the Supreme Court.
So what do you think is going to happen with all these court cases?
I don't know. It's the thing that frustrates me is the fact that they're not even hearing them. Like there's something that I would at least hear it out, even if you come out. But they look at it, they say there's no evidence, and poop, it's gone. So I don't know. I mean, they looked at the Dominion machines in Michigan, and they found out that, oh, hey, no, there was a problem with this. Which county was it? It wasn't Wayne County. It was another one up there. But was it Antrim County? Yeah, it was Antrim County. They went and they actually looked into the Dominion voting machines and said, hey, there's a problem going on in here. The judge released it right out there. They know that it was there. But, of course, the news release didn't happen until after the Electoral College voted. And then now Georgia is going into a full signature audit.
Well, that's good. They should go all the way with it.
So I don't know what's going on with this. I was uneasy about the Texas lawsuit. Not necessarily because I don't think that there's something there. I do think that there's something there, except that it was all above board. But if something was not above board, I also don't like the fact that, I mean, if the Supreme Court weighed in on this, one of the things that worries me is that would become essentially a reach around of Article 2, Section 1 and give federal control over the state elections. I'm not willing to go down that path, especially with Democrats hungry for power, where we can come back and see an outlaw of nationwide mail-in, or I'm sorry, not mail-in voting, an outlaw nationwide of voter ID. Because if you get that federal control into the election, that's on the table at that point.
Yeah. Well, most states, a lot of states don't require an ID anyway. Mine didn't.
They require for an ID for everything else, including contact tracing, but not for voting. My state does. But they were I guess they were able to skirt a lot of that going along with, what was it called? The indefinite confinement? Where people were using COVID as an excuse to say they were indefinitely confined. You were supposed to have signature verification of somebody who saw your ID and then mail your ID in.
And they didn't?
It doesn't appear that they did. There was a lot of stuff that was sidestepped in my state, even though everything was completely above board for this. Now, President Trump himself is still going through and having strategy meetings about how he can turn around and win this election, or at least overcome some of the fraud. However, CNN has been quick to report things that were not in the right for some of this here. Reading quickly from CNN. Now, this article has changed, by the way, since it was first written here, because when I first read the article, it said that Trump was floating the idea himself about declaring martial law and having the military run an election, but they have changed that text in this. But this article says Trump convened a heated meeting in the Oval Office on Friday, including lawyer Sidney Powell, which having that woman anywhere near the levers of government at this point, just they need to stop with that.
Mm-hmm.
And her client, former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn, two people familiar with the matter, said, describing a session that began as an impromptu gathering, but devolved and eventually broke out into screaming matches at certain points, as some of Trump's aides pushed back on Powell and Flynn's more outrageous suggestions about overturning the election. Flynn had suggested earlier this week that Trump could invoke martial law as part of his efforts to overturn the election that he lost to President-elect Joe Biden.
No, he didn't. He didn't lose to it. I don't believe that.
An idea
Go
that
on.
arose again during the meeting in the Oval Office. One of the people said it wasn't clear if Trump endorsed the idea. Now, that was the text that was changed.
Mm-hmm.
Because the first time I read this, it said that he did endorse this, and that was what went out on the evening news. But, I mean, I voted for the guy both times. Excitedly the first time and very reluctantly the second time. You know, you've seen the video.
Mm-hmm.
But if he goes down the martial law path, I cannot get behind that.
Mm-hmm.
I can't do that. That's a bridge too far for me.
Mm-hmm. I mean, what's he going to do with the martial law?
Apparently, under the martial law provision, they can reconduct the election, pretty much sidestep the Constitution, and have the military conduct a new election.
Mm-hmm. Yikes.
Which is fine if they want to do that, but I'm worried about the next time a Democrat loses and says, okay, well, now I want to do this too, and we're going to keep voting until I win. You know, like they do on Brexit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like it's going to happen one way or another.
You think?
Yeah, like if Trump doesn't do it, maybe the next election when he says he's going to run, what if he does win and they invoke the martial law?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm worried
It's
about.
not coming to a head here soon. You know, I feel like there's going to be some big Civil War type stuff going down. I used to think, no, it's not going to happen, but there are already calls for secession.
Well, yeah, and I went back, what was it, 7 years ago? 6 or 7 years ago. So it was 7 years ago. I wrote, when I was still writing blog posts, I wrote a blog about what the next Civil War could look like. And this was back just after the Obama second win. And I was already seeing the writing on the wall for this. And I was told then, too, I mean, that could never happen. Because the American people will find a way. And it's...
I mean, all these things like, no, that can never happen. Like it was able to happen once and it can happen again because people don't know their history. Like you give extreme examples of, you know, like people being forced to wear a mask and like, well, people didn't think it was an issue being forced to wear a yellow star. And they're like, oh yeah, like that's a good comparison. Like, you know, only because it hasn't happened yet. Like you're looking at a very extreme example, but how do you think it got there? It was from small incremental rollbacks on what you were allowed and not allowed to do.
Yeah.
Now, do I think they're going to stick us in camps and gas us all to death? Probably not. Maybe not. I certainly hope not. But they're going to start flexing that power one way or another. And your old way of life is going to disappear before you even realize it.
It already is. I go into the pick and save and... All right, well, we will figure out what's going on with this and power through here. Looks like we might have some internet issues coming along with this. I was saying while we were off the air, I wonder if this is just you've got too powerful of an internet connection and it's overloading mine.
Maybe, I don't know.
I don't know what your fiber optics are like out in California, but I know Silentcaster, when I have him on, does the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder if it's just that, if it's overpowering my internet connection. But anyway, yeah, you were talking about having a yellow star, and I forget where we left off with that there.
Just because, oh yeah, rolling back your rights and your old way of life is going to vanish before you even realize it, and you let it happen.
And
you wanted this. You gave it up in the name of safety, and then you got neither. You got neither safety nor freedom.
Well, Trump is not going to go out with a bang or without a bang because he's Donald Trump and he does the flash in the show. Now, Trump has promised now that there are going to be wild protests in Washington, D.C. on the day the Congress is set to finalize the election results. That will be January 6th. That will be one day after the Georgia runoff, which I don't even have anything that we can put in for this one here because that race has been pretty silent this week. But I've got the tweet here that he said. Let me pull that up. There it is. So apparently, Trump was reading from a report from Peter Navarro. He tweets out, Peter Navarro releases 36-page report alleging election fraud more than sufficient to swing victory to Trump. And then he links a Washington Examiner article. A great report by Peter. Statistically impossible to have lost the 2020 election. Big protests on D.C. on January 6th. Be there. Will be wild. And of course, because it's Twitter, it's marked as this claim about election fraud is disputed.
Oh, I'm sure.
But, I mean, as far as D.C. goes, I mean, look at what we saw at the last two Stop the Steal rallies. It was all calm for the most part. People were marching, having a party, whatever. And then after the sun went down, everything changed.
People started attacking.
No. It was Proud Boys dressed up as Antifa. We promise.
Okay. Well, if there is going to be a start to a civil war, it'll probably be at that moment.
I don't even want to think about that right now.
Yeah.
But it might come down to that. I mean, there are a lot of people that are very, very eager to see what goes on with this, and a lot of people feel cheated at this point.
I mean, I do. I mean, we saw it happen right before our eyes.
Yeah, the graph and the blue line just all whoop.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. If it doesn't make sense, it's not true.
Yeah. That line became so prominent that Styx over on Twitter changed his profile picture to an Ouroboros with that line in it like that.
Yeah? I got it from Judge Judy.
So, I don't know. I hate to see the fact that they're going to do these rallies here just because I know that it's going to draw the bad actors out there to do that. We saw this every time the Proud Boys said they were going to go up to Portland, including the time they said they were going to go to Portland, and then they didn't go. Mm-hmm. And Antifa was sitting there waiting with baseball bats for them.
You got to start fighting back, y'all. In self-defense, of course.
Defensively, yes.
Defensively, yeah. You got to start fighting back.
So, but the other thing that I have to question about this is, I mean, what is that going to accomplish?
Nothing.
A lot of
We're
people,
all going to get anyway.
Yeah, a lot of people are just going to go to D.C., they're going to get angry, they're going to get drunk, and everything's going to go forward anyway. Yeah. I know that Mo Brooks is already planning to object to the results. Senator McConnell is coming out and saying, well, please don't object to the results. Just let this go through the way that it's supposed to go through.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Like it was 4 years ago. Okay. Totally.
Yeah, McConnell.
I thought you said Mel Brooks, like the filmmaker. He actually endorsed Biden, which is very heartbreaking to me. Like, not that I think he'd endorse Trump either, but to endorse the party that actively will probably censor all of your films because they're too offensive. Oh, that's right. Yeah, you don't watch a lot of movies. Blazing Saddles.
I've never seen Blazing Saddles.
Okay. It's probably the best example. But anyway, plowing ahead.
Yeah, that's what's going on with the election here.
Mm-hmm.
Let's shift gears and talk about some of these cabinet picks on everything that's going along with this. And starting on the right side here, the world was blown away this week when Bill Barr handed in his resignation.
Mm-hmm.
So, reading briefly from CNN, Attorney General William Barr resigns. Now, a lot of people saw this coming because he went out and made his big press conference that said, well, there's no evidence that there was any sort of election fraud anywhere, so nothing that we can see from the DOJ. And it pissed the Donald off to no end.
Mm-hmm. Snake. And now he gets to retire on the taxpayer dime.
For the second time, because remember, he was he HW or W's AG? I think he was HW's AG.
Yeah.
Either way, both of them are fucking criminals anyway. But he did that. There was another one that he did recently too. I can't remember what the hell it was right offhand. Oh, he's coming out and saying that there doesn't need to be a special counsel for the Hunter Biden thing, which means that old Uncle Sniffadiddle can just jump up into the office now and fire whoever's investigating his kid. unless there's a special counsel, which he can fire the special counsel too, but it's a lot more difficult to do that. But it has come out this week, in the last couple of weeks, that Barr withheld the evidence for the Hunter Biden probe that he knew about all the way back in March. He withheld it for there. He came out and he said there was no evidence that the DOJ could find for any sort of voter fraud, which, from a DOJ standpoint, I don't think there was. That is a local issue, so he might be technically right there, but I think that he did it for political reasons. And now all this stuff is coming out, and he's gone.
Yeah, I mean, is anybody surprised? Is anybody really surprised?
Well, the question I have, and this is one of the things that a lot of people keep coming up with, is the fact that I don't think even the government believes that Trump is going to lose this particular battle. Because otherwise, Bill Barr would have just waited the next 3 weeks and retired at the end of the term when Andrew Cuomo comes in and becomes the AG.
Why do you say that?
Wouldn't you? I mean, you still want to have your cabinet picked. Otherwise, you've got to put an acting AG in for 3 weeks while we're sitting here getting ready to do transfer of power.
I guess. I'm not really sure how that works.
Well, Deputy AG Rosen is going to be taking over for the next 3 weeks as the Attorney General, which means that he will decide whether or not there's going to be a special counsel going into election fraud, which is completely possible at this point, and to see if there's going to be a special counsel into the Hunter Biden probe. Which I'd kind of like to see that end. I don't want to see that one go away. I want to see where that one ends up through.
Yeah. Like, have something done about it. I don't know why they kept putting it off till after the election.
Well, Barr's defense for that was the fact that he didn't want that to affect the election because it didn't seem like it should.
Well, wasn't his father implicated, though, in his dealings while he was the acting vice president?
So far, it looks like he has. Which, I mean, if my president...
It does have to do with the election.
If my president is beholden to a foreign nation, I'd like to know about it before I vote. I don't know about the rest of the American people, but I'd sure like to know about it. Over on the Biden side, Biden has started naming some of his cabinet picks coming up forward, including one, Peter Buttigieg, who's going to be the transportation secretary. His qualifications? Well, when I was a kid, I liked trains and I liked watching trains. I shit you not, that was the qualifications that he put forward as to why he felt he'd be a good transportation secretary.
So he's pretty much putting mostly deep state people back in.
Well, I wouldn't consider Buttigieg to be a deep state person. The only real political experience he has is a mayor of a relatively small town. About 3 hours away from where I'm sitting right now.
Nice. Well, I mean, I guess Trump's cabinet picks were all of his family members, so, I mean, is it really any that
That's fair.
more bizarre? Yeah.
That's a fair
that
criticism.
Yeah. So that's why the ambassadors of the Disney people being ambassadors, like, all right, this is just a clown show.
Oh,
We
yeah.
failed as a human race.
You saw that in the notes there?
Yeah, I did.
Let's talk about that one there. Which one is this one? Yep, this one
The
here.
Hill.
From The Hill. Biden considering Bob Iger and Jeffrey Katzenberger, who are both Disney associates, as ambassadors, including sending Iger to China, where he can go and peddle his Disney wares and make all kinds of billions of dollars.
Sounds good.
Trump came in saying he was going to drain the swamp, and I don't really think that he did a very good job of it. But, I mean, Biden's backing the fucking sewage truck up to it and pour it on back in, boys. So Bob Iger, of course, is the executive chairman of the Disney Corporation, and Jeffrey Katzenberger is a film producer. Both of them are looking at ambassadorships to Southeast Asia at this point, or possibly the UK, which, once again, that gives you more influence to go and peddle your ill-gotten wares over in these countries. Hey, would you like some Disney Plus memberships over here in China?
Yeah. Which I hear they're not doing so good.
Who else did we have on here? Potential Biden ambassador pick took millions in PPP loans while winning hundreds of millions in settlement. So he's also considering Joseph Rice for an ambassadorship, who co-founded the Motley Rice law firm based in South Carolina, raised more than $100,000 for Biden's presidential campaign, while his employees donated another 50 grand to Biden and more money to other Democrats. As the Free Beacon reported, Rice's law firm received $7.03 million from the Paycheck Protection Program after they just had a $260 million settlement against opioid manufacturer Teva, Cardinal Health, AmerisourceBergen, and McKesson, and also a settlement from Johnson & Johnson and other pharmaceutical companies for $26 billion. So I think their paychecks were pretty well protected without government assistance.
Yeah. Ain't that a coinky dink?
And we wonder why that fund ran out of money.
I know.
And the last one of note this week came for the Interior nominee, the Secretary of Interior nominee, Deb Haaland, who is supposed to be apparently the first Native American secretary of anything, which I don't believe is true because I believe under Coolidge, didn't they have somebody? I don't know.
Sure.
Back in the 30s, they had another Native American as a vice president. I cannot think of who the name was, but yeah, they're making this out to be this is the highest ranking person who's have Native American tribal membership to ever be in the government, and that's not it. But Haaland is making waves because she is a staunch Green New Deal advocate, and she's going to lead the Interior Department.
Wow.
So I've laid some names out in front of you. What do you think about these names?
I mean, the only names I'm familiar with are the Disney people and Buttigieg. And I'm not really sure they're the most qualified for their job. Again, I mean, the Trump's picks weren't any better, in my opinion. So I guess we're just going to see how it goes. I mean, I can be surprised. I can only have the best, most faith. It's becoming increasingly more difficult to be optimistic.
It is indeed. I gotta cut some stuff out of here. But let's see what the live chat's doing here. Then now we're gonna do some coronavirus stuff. I've got some video and some pictures to look at with this. Catching back up to where we were here. Ron Helton's got the thumbs ups, probably indicating that we're back on. Silentcaster says you were supposed to vote 12 times like everyone else did in Wisconsin. Silentcaster also says it's been quite a long 15 days to slow the spread. The world being around is also disputed, but it's odd because Twitter doesn't put a disclaimer on that. It's coming. Unsatiable says, are you going to rip up the stimulus check? Yes. Are you?
Mine gets deposited in my account. I can't rip it up.
See, I don't trust the government having my bank account information, so I get the paper check.
Not a bad idea.
Unsatiable says, look, this Native American chick will do some alternative Indian medicine and buy a casino with taxpayer money. Well, there went YouTube. My account is suspended at that point. I'm just waiting for the email for that one. Probably should have read that before I read it out loud.
Oops.
Well, we're already off YouTube. I can read this one too. If you didn't commit voter fraud for Joe Biden, you ain't black. Looks like we've got Chilaga and MK Ultra coming in. Our West Chicago crew. Chilaga says good evening. Came late for a change. And MK Ultra 30330 says sup Chilaga. So welcome on in, guys. Thanks for coming and hanging out with us. Let's talk a bit about what is going on with the vaccine. So first and foremost, AOC, being AOC, decided that she needed a virtue signal about the fact that she is getting the vaccine. So she put this picture out here showing her taking the vaccine. And a lot of people got up on her side and says, oh, it's so brave that she went up. She cares so much about the American worker that she's getting the vaccine. I said, yeah. She cares so much about the American worker that she jumped the line as a healthy 29-year-old. She jumped the line in front of all the American workers. What's that?
Isn't she 31 by now?
See, I don't understand. Been doing some funny math with this because, and usually when women do funny math with their age, it goes in the other direction. She was 27 when she was voted in 2 years ago. There's no way in hell she's 31.
Well, no, she was 28 when she was voted in. That was like 2018, right?
She was 27.
Hold on. How old is AOC?
Yeah, all the articles say that she's 31. I distinctly remember her being 27.
No, she's 31.
Now, that's got to be some
She's
kind of
younger than
Mandela
my-
effect bullshit then.
Well, good for her taking it. My brother took it, but he works in healthcare, so he didn't really have a choice. But I'm not taking that vaccine. I'll let y'all work the kinks out, and I'll come back to you when I think I'm ready.
I've actually got a friend who is a nurse in the west suburbs, and she and I have been talking about that. She took it. She wasn't going to take it because it got rolled out too soon, and she didn't trust enough. Like I do, and like pretty much what you said, it all happened too soon. So she decided she wasn't going to take it. Plus, she's already had the commie coof.
Mm-hmm.
And then she put a Snapchat out the other day that showed that she was out taking it. And I said, I thought you weren't going to take it. And she said, okay, well, I changed my mind. And then today she's texting me because she went home early from work with a 102-degree fever.
Oy vey.
I'll wait.
Oh,
all
wait.
the rest of you guys can get in line in front of me.
My brother said he couldn't move his arm for a while. It was really sore.
So that happened this week. On other news with that, let me get the news up here. Fauci is in the news with this. He suggests that Biden, Harris, and Trump all get the COVID-19 vaccine as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Reading briefly from the New York Post, President-elect Joe Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris should get the new COVID-19 vaccine as quickly as possible, Dr. Fauci said on Tuesday. For security reasons, I really feel strongly that we should get them vaccinated as soon as we possibly can. We want him fully protected as he enters into the presidency in January. So that would be my strong recommendation. Fauci, the nation's top infectious disease expert, who hasn't practiced in 50 years, said on ABC's Good Morning America.
Uh-huh.
Do you think he should get it?
Yes, absolutely.
Well, the bizarre thing about Biden is the fact that he says that he's safe. He's getting constantly tested for the virus, and he's completely he's safe and everything from this. But we had this video come out this week. It was when he was giving his victory speech from the Electoral College win, and let's just have a listen to what that sounded like.
You know, in this battle for the soul of America, democracy prevailed. We, the people, voted. Faith in our institutions held. And for the soul of America.
So he made a lengthy speech. It was about an 8-minute speech at the end of it, and he just coughed and hacked the whole way through this thing.
Yeah, he doesn't sound very good.
Right into his hand, too, which, you're not supposed to do. And I don't know if, he's in front of his trademark Office of the President-elect banner, which means absolutely nothing at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. Do you think they're setting him up to get dropped at some point?
Mm-hmm. I think they're setting up the stage for Miss Kamala. See, here's something else I'm worried about if she takes the helm. I wonder how she's going to be on foreign policy.
Oh, she's going to be one of the boys.
Is she?
I got this feeling she's going to have to go up and prove herself as one of the boys.
Mm-hmm. Do you think she'll do good at it? Because she seems despised by even her own state to stand up with the boys in Congress. I feel like she's not going to get a lot of support.
You don't think so? I think that she's going to go out and start a new war as quickly as possible, if we're not already in one, just to prove that she can.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a wonderful idea. That's exactly what we need.
What, another war?
Another war.
That is exactly what we need. Don't question it here. I want to touch back on the vaccine here because we also had another bizarre video this week. Something else that happened here. So this nurse in Tennessee was one of the first people to take the vaccine. She got up and was put in front of the camera for a press conference for whatever reason. I can't understand why they did this to her. But this is what the scene looked like when that happened.
This morning, did you know you're going to be receiving a vaccine?
I have like no volume
did,
off.
yes. So, all of my staff, we are excited to get the vaccine. We are in the COVID unit, so therefore, my team will be getting first chances to get the vaccine. And I know that it's really...
Oh, boy.
Sorry, I'm feeling really dizzy. Oh, I'm sorry.
And there she goes.
Jeez. Cut away.
Cut away! Cut away! Yes.
Did she die?
No, she just fainted.
Okay.
So-
I heard one of them died, but
I've not heard that one of them died. The allegation, of course, is that this particular nurse suffers from a disease where she passes out and faints every time that she feels pain, which, I mean, at that point, if you just took a vaccine, why in God's name would you get on a camera after that?
yeah, I know.
I can't understand that. But there again, you know what? Why don't the rest of you guys go and work the kinks out for this? I'll hang back in the back of the line if you want to get some more people vaccinated because, yeah.
Strength in numbers, y'all. Don't let a heathen like me spoil your health. You should probably start wrapping things up. I gotta start dinner soon.
All right, I got a few more that we got to talk about here. So Andrew Yang got himself into a little bit of trouble this week, and Austin Peterson very, very rightly ripped him for this. Andrew Yang tweeted out on December 18th, is there a way for someone to easily show that they can have been vaccinated, like a barcode that they could download to their phone? There ought to be.
Jeez, that sounds like a great idea.
That's going right back to that yellow star thing that you brought up earlier on in the show.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I've been vaccinated. When the government tells you have to inject something in your body or put something on your person, you should be very wary because they're not out for you. They're not after your best interest.
So, yeah, and it's the barcode thing. It's like, is this the mark of the beast? This is getting to that point that
We have been talking about that, yeah.
I know Ticketmaster came out and said, okay, well, you're not allowed to go and see any of our venues or buy tickets unless you have proof of the vaccine, which that's fine. I won't give you my money. I'll go spend it somewhere else. But, they're talking about grocery stores and all kinds of other things that go along with that, too. So it's getting scary out here.
I know, it is. It's all happening. And you look at like any of the videos where Biden has his speech about his acceptance speech or whatever, they're mostly dislikes. Like most people aren't buying this crap.
Yeah. Well, and one of the big things that come along with this too, and I'm going to cut a couple other things off of this here. So we got just a couple more, one more story and then surprise stupidity, and then we'll get you out here to make dinner.
Okay.
I have two more stories. Let me rephrase that. Sorry about that. Well, we'll get two more, then we'll get you out to make dinner. But yeah, it's just Styx pointed this out too because he does his live streams now where he goes back and reads live chat from people, and he gets more people watching him concurrently while shadow banned on YouTube than Biden gets.
I know, like something is not adding up, and YouTube is not a right-wing platform either.
No, I mean
It isn't.
Matt and Blonde regularly have 5,000 people watching their streams concurrently. Every Sunday night, regularly. Even for their call-in show. And Biden can barely pull 1,000 people watching him on a YouTube stream.
Yeah.
And yet he got a record number of votes across the country.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that for a second. It doesn't make sense. Didn't they find like a bunch of ballots like for Trump tossed away? And they saw like a lot of the votes tallied where they just had one for Joe, like none for any other of the people that were running on those ballots.
Why, no, I don't know what you're talking about. Everything was above board, Hong Kong.
Yeah, you're right.
So you mentioned when we were still doing Ed's World and we were still talking about the election politics of the primaries way back when, that you consistently mentioned one of the candidates that you would have wanted to be president the whole time, and that is one Hawaii representative, Tulsi Gabbard. Well, Tulsi Gabbard has made the news this week by considerable leaps and bounds. So, Tulsi Gabbard, first, is put out a bill this past week, and she's getting slammed from the left over a bill protecting abortion survivors. Let's see what Fox News has to say about this. Representative Tulsi Gabbard is facing a wave of backlash from the left after she introduced legislation designed to ensure infants receive proper medical care after surviving abortions, because this is, I guess, some massive attack against women. Jill Filipovic says Tulsi Gabbard also introduced a redundant bill that claims to protect infants in the infinitesimally rare cases that they are born after attempted abortions. Infants are already legally protected.
In addition to signing the latest coronavirus.
But in fact, just criminalizes doctors, vilifies women, and fearmongers about abortion.
I think it's just sick. Like, so you really want to kill these babies, don't you? You really want to kill these babies. That's horrible. I'm not for abortion at all, actually. I do stand by. I do think that it is murder. And I think that that's something. It's a step in the right direction. Somebody trying to do something about it. Although I think abortion shouldn't be legal anyway.
No, and I mean, you're right about that. But I guess for me, I'm very pro-life. But I also don't trust the government to do anything about it. And I mean, this is Tulsi getting a lot right-wing on this. And I mean, you would almost expect her to be, we're going to go back and join the GOP, except for the fact that she is abysmal on guns, and she is a flat-out socialist on top of everything else. But she's very liberty-minded, and she's very anti-war. That's why the libertarian candidates seem to like her so much.
I mean, you're not going to agree with everything a person wants. Fair enough.
Well, she made waves for something else this week. Let's watch the video or listen to the video from this and see what she has to say about what she's working with for Thomas Massie.
In our country, there are fundamental freedoms and rights that are enshrined in our Constitution, guaranteed to every single American, among which are our right to privacy and protection of our civil liberties. Now, the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution very specifically prohibits unreasonable searches and seizures without a warrant based on probable cause. But over the last 2 decades, in part because of information revealed by Edward Snowden, we now know that there have been ongoing breaches of our civil liberties through programs that were instituted through the Patriot Act and the FISA Amendments Act, which basically allowed agencies within our government to conduct mass illegal surveillance on Americans without a warrant or probable cause. For example, Section 215 of the Patriot Act has been used for years by the NSA to collect domestic phone records of millions of law-abiding Americans, again, without any kind of probable cause. FISA Amendments Act did something similar, but it allowed for mass collection of our emails. The intelligence community has not been transparent or honest with the American people or even Congress about what they've been doing. Some of you may know when James Clapper, who was the former director of national intelligence, was asked by the U.S. Senate in an open hearing about whether or not the government was conducting this mass surveillance, this mass collection of information on everyday Americans, he lied under oath and said no. So to address these issues, my friend and colleague Congressman Tom Massie and I introduced legislation called the Protect Our Civil Liberties Act to make sure that Congress re-examines how best to strike this balance of protecting our national security interests while also ensuring that the constitutional rights of every single American is preserved. So here's a basic summary of what our legislation would do. Number one, it would repeal the Patriot Act, again, which included those provisions allowing for the mass collection of telephone metadata on everyday Americans. Number two, it would repeal the FISA Amendments Act, which contained those provisions allowing for mass collection of our emails. Three, it would make retaliation against federal national security whistleblowers illegal, people like Edward Snowden, and it would make sure that those who engaged in this kind of retaliation would be terminated. Four, it would ensure that any collection of information, again, on an American must be based on a warrant with probable cause. Five, it would prohibit these government-mandated, quote-unquote, backdoors from being built into electronic devices or software that would allow the government to bypass encryption or other privacy technology built into those systems. Number six, it would mandate that the Government Accountability Office, the GAO, would regularly monitor domestic surveillance programs for compliance with the law. This would...
All right, I'm going to cut that one off there because I know that we got to keep you moving off of this. But yeah, that's a big step. Mm-hmm. Getting rid of the Patriot Act.
Yeah. If she can make it happen. She mentioned Edward Snowden too, and I wonder if Trump's going to pardon him.
Wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be nice if he used his power for good instead of just tweeting idiotic shit from the toilet?
I guess, yeah.
But it's unpatriotic if you don't want the Patriot Act. How could you
It
do
is.
that?
Clever wordplay that they used for BLM too. It's like if you're against it, they can make you sound like a horrible person.
Yeah. Well, that's what I've got for news. And like I said, we're going to have to cut this early. But before you go, this is a tradition that I do with Elaine. And you get to participate in too. I've got one little piece of surprise stupidity for you this week. I had two, but I didn't get the image on the second one loaded. But you saw that one in the Discord, the AOC one with the sex work and the dad that was watching it.
Wait, what? Which one?
Oh, you haven't seen this.
Mm-mm.
I'm going to bring that up. So I didn't get it up on the screen, but we will read this then. Because this is in... Where the fuck did I put this? I got to think where I put this. Maybe I won't be able to do this. Where is it? I know it's in here. Is it in general? Yeah, it's in general. That's why I can't find it. So, after AOC tweeted out that sex work is work, an EMT, she highlighted an EMT who joined OnlyFans to make ends meet, and then she was shamed by the new right. And Thomas the Divorced Trader tweeted out, "My daughter is an OnlyFans, Pornhub, and more. She is thriving, and I'm the proud father of a sex worker." And then I guess he got ratioed hard enough that he doubled down on this and said, and I quote, "For all you insecure bigots wondering if I watch her content, of course I do. Would you not support your daughter's work? She's happy doing what she does, thus I'm happy for her and her husband."
I think he jumped the gun on that one. Literally. No, this actually, here's one more funny thing. Did you hear about the guy that wants to sue Pornhub who's deaf because there's not closed captioning on most of the videos?
No, but that's going on Contemporary in the morning.
Look that up. I heard it on the radio this morning that some guy there's not all of the videos are closed caption, which means somebody closed captioned the other ones. That's like, so now you're going on record, and it's not just Pornhub, it's like a bunch of porn sites that he's suing, and like, so you're going on record that you stream all of that naughty content.
Oh, jeez.
Oh,
well,
man.
I've got the one that I did have planned for your surprise stupidity here. And this was, I went off on this on Thursday morning when I saw this here. Reading from The Hill, and this is an actual headline, by the way. Poll, 60% approve of Joe Biden's job as president-elect. 6 in 10 voters approve of the job Joe Biden is doing as president-elect. A new Hill-Harris X poll finds.
How do you determine that? He's not doing anything.
Is that the what job is there as a president-elect?
Yeah, I guess if you can't do anything, you're not failing. You can't fail at it. So I guess by proxy, you're doing a job, but you're not doing anything. Okay, well, that's stupid.
That is stupid. I mean, and I joked about this on Thursday morning when I read this. What is Joe Biden? What's his job as a president-elect? It's to sit there with a blanket in his lap and says, "Hey, Jill, come bring me more pudding." Hey.
Now there's something interesting I wonder is going to happen, like when Kamala Harris tries to usurp him. I wonder if he's going to fight back.
I don't know. I think he's going to sit in his chair and say, "Hey, Hunter, you remember that time I met Corn Pop?"
That's going to be an interesting thing because it's not as cut and dry as I'm sure they hope it's going to be. There might be some surprises.
The surprise stupidity here is the fact that the Hill-Harris X put this poll out.
Mm-hmm.
That they actually made this poll and spent time and money on it. People answered it. Yes, I approve of what Joe Biden is doing as president-elect. The job that he's doing.
All right, God. Time to hit the reset button. That's great flood.
All right.
Let's go.
So, we're going to change the format here a little bit in case you do have to jet before the end of the live chat here. So, before we do the last little bit of live chat here, I'm going to have you shout your stuff and tell everyone where they can find you, which is linked below, and I'm going to hit the chest while you're doing that.
Yes. My name is Harvey MacLeod. I'm here to play games for you. You can just catch me on Twitch at twitch.tv/Harvey MacLeod. That's MacLeod with 2 C's. That's also my YouTube channel. Not a lot going on there, but I am about to upload a King of the Hill video, another King of the Hill video, because a lot of people like those and I like making them. So I'm going to do that. And just hopefully I'll get to stream a little bit more next year. COVID has had me busier than I've ever been, which is kind of weird. But I'm a variety streamer, and I hope you come to watch and enjoy my content if you like what I have to say here.
All right, and I'm going to catch up with the live chat for the rest of the night here. If you've got a jet, just wave and let me know here. But let's see what we can get through while you're still here.
Sure.
Chilaga popped in here. Post Jazz is laughing at something about cashing the check, I'm guessing. Chilaga says, "I'm cutting up my check like J. Edgar this time. 600 over 9 months is 666. I don't know what that means. That doesn't quite math to me, but okay.
It's cool.
Ron Helton's got the thumbs up. Unsatiable says, "Cashing that check in $1 bills to save money on heating by burning it."
Nice.
Which is just about what you could do with a Bolivar, too.
Mm-hmm.
AOC Milky's Please says Unsatiable 1776. Chilaga says AOC is 35 and she's got gray scrotum on. Unsatiable says, "Oh my God, why do the damn socialists have to be so hot?"
To get all the Sims, duh. Oops.
Same ballot and COVID counters counting AOC's age. Unsatiable says, "We need Faith Goldie and AOC to mud wrestle." Post Jazz likes my Fauci. He says my Fauci is really good. My friend Quest Fanning says that my Fauci sounds like Elmer Fudd.
Yeah, to hold them all, right?
MK Ultra says, "Love how 8 minutes is lengthy speech for him." Post Jazz says, "Faith Goldie used to be on Rebel Media and ran for some office in Canada and lost." Ron Helton says, "You don't need the vaccine if it works if you've had the coof." Let's see. MK says, "We gave $1 billion to Egypt today. We're going to war with Iran."
Yikes.
That's probably true. Post Jazz says, "If you want to write a script that makes people that care about each other argue on Facebook, you include this scene." Not sure which scene you're talking about here. Chilaga says, "Divide and distract." Unsatiable says, "I still hate my parents for vaccinating me when I was a baby." Well, That's unfortunate for you and your parents. I think I'm caught up to where I was up on here. No, yeah, that's where we got knocked off. And Unsatiable says they got you for bad-mouthing Joe Biden. Let's see. Chilaga says he doesn't trust her. Unsatiable says, of course, it's Spectrum. Massey's the only one. Abolish the NSA. Unsatiable says, upload 1 trillion dick pics to the NSA server. Well, given the Tinder generation, I'm sure that there are already 1 trillion ones there.
Gross.
You know it's true.
Dicks.
Chilaga says, oh snap, repeal the Patriot Act. Okay, Tulsi, let's go. Where's Ron? Yeah, Ron would get all over that. Insatiable says it would never happen through legislation. Saw the backdoor processor was in every phone since 2008. Yeah, that's probably true. Unsatiable says the president would have to be a man and not reauthorize the Patriot Act. Yeah, that was where I almost didn't vote for Trump this time, was because he reauthorized it and I said, I can't fucking do this anymore. And then I wound up voting for him anyway.
I may look at the alternative.
Chilaga said all leftist programs are backwards. Universal health care, single payer, everyone pays and everyone suffers. Unsatiable says lefties are cancer that have to be re-educated from their terror. Yep, we're not going to do re-education here. Putting the end on that one here. Postjazz says porn closed captioning. Unsatiable says the same thing you did. What the fuck is the president-elect job? Those president-elect signs are pretty cool, says MK Ultra. Postjazz says, even I'm not unsatisfied with the way he does nothing. Miserable bastards out there. Mm-hmm. And then he says, when he's a good boy, Jill's puts raisins in his pudding.
I'll bet. You mean his husband? Like, you mean my husband? Remember, or some sort of gaffe like that?
I don't remember that one, unfortunately. It was the fainting. Oh, the scene was the fainting nurse. MK Ultra says, get that smuck out of here, Chilaga. Postjazz says, I saw a 20-year-old buy weed on Tinder this summer. Blew my mind. Nice. I've been looking at this app all wrong.
Man.
Insatiable will get the last word tonight and says, I agree, Harris is doing a good job telling Joe Biden what to say as the president-elect. And with that, we are going to close the show. So thank you, everybody who came out here tonight and bore with us as we had some internet issues. And thank you for welcoming Harvey MacLeod and taking the time with us off of our usual time. We will be back here next week on the usual time with the usual co-hostess after she's back from Florida, hopefully with a little bit more of a tan and a lot more relaxation. I know there have been some things going on that she needs to pay attention to, but hopefully she can relax and still come and hang out with us every day. So looking forward to that. If you are just catching up now, you can catch us back on demand over on YouTube and over on BitChute.com. Go ahead and check us out. And lastly, go and check out the Freedom Scoop Media Group, where you can catch our replays along with The Generational Gap, The R-Rated Conservative, The Freckles and Brit Show, The Breakdown with Birkenhoff, and The Daily Ignoramus. So go over there and check us all out over there. And lastly, never take the words of bloggers, podcasters, or journalists as gospel. Find all the facts and draw your own conclusion. Harvey, lead them out of here with some words of wisdom.
Guys, just please do your own research and, don't be afraid to stand your ground. If you're steadfast in what you know to be true, then voice it if you need to.
Take care, everyone. Have a good day.
Bye.